It's also true right now, Mr. President, that voters by a wide margin trust Trump more on the economy. They say that in polls.
The polling data has been wrong all along.
Erin Burnett dunks on Biden in an all-out hardball interview. I'm Rob on the Right. Let's go take a look.
When you talk about the economy, of course, it is by far the most important issue for voters. It's also true right now, Mr. President, that voters by a wide margin trust Trump more on the economy. They say that in polls. The cost of buying a home in the United States is double what it was when you look at your monthly costs from before the pandemic. Real income, when you account for inflation, is actually down since you took office. Economic growth last week, far short of expectations. Consumer confidence, maybe no surprise, is near a 2-year low. With less than 6 months to go to Election Day, are you worried that you're running out of time to turn that around?
Thank you, Erin Burnett, for asking all the hard questions we want answers to.
We've already turned it around. Look at the Michigan survey. For 65% of the American people think they're in good shape economically. They think the nation's not in good shape, but they're personally in good shape. The polling data has been wrong all along. How many, you guys do a poll at CNN, how many folks you have to call to get one response?
I mean, it's typical of Joe to go on the offensive and attack the poll numbers. I mean, they're bad. I mean, really bad.
We've created more jobs. We're in a situation where people have access to good paying jobs. And the last I saw, the combination of the inflation, the cost of inflation, and all those things, that's really worrisome to people with good reason. That's why I'm working very hard to bring the cost of rentals down, to increase the number of homes that are available. But let me say it this way. When I started this administration, people were saying there's going to be a collapse in the economy. We have the strongest economy in the world.
Joe just can't keep up. Burnett brings up so many valid points, it's hard to know where to start. And Biden can only talk about the unemployment numbers.
Let me say it again, in the world.
Although GDP last week was far short of expectations.
Oh, it wasn't. Look, GDP is still growing. Look at the response of the markets. Overwhelmingly positive. Overwhelmingly positive. And one of the reasons why people feel good about it not being as strong as it was before is they believe that the Fed's going to respond.
They hope they're going to get a rate cut.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, no president's had the run we've had in terms of creating jobs and bringing down inflation. It was 9% when I came to office. 9%.
We all know the Biden administration benefited when people returned to work after 2020. I've also seen data that shows there's a replacement of full-time jobs with part-time jobs. So the employment numbers are a false gauge at this point. A better metric are the interest rates, which are terrible right now.
But look, people have a right to be concerned. Ordinary people, the idea that you bounce a check and you get a $30 fee for bouncing the check, might change that. You can't charge more than $8 for that. Or your credit card, your late payment, $35. I mean, there's corporate greed going on out there, and it's got to be dealt with.
You gotta love how Joe pivots and deflects to corporate greed. This is one of the left's talking points that really gets under my skin.
For example, the whole idea of this notion that Senator Casey talked about, shrinkflation. I think it's on your
Same
program.
price for a smaller bottle of juice or something.
For example, Snickers bar, they did a thing, and it's like 20% less for the same price. That's corporate greed. That's corporate greed.
Corporate America has become dominated by left-leaning CEOs and organizations. I mean, seriously, off the top of my head, I can't think of one CEO other than Elon Musk that holds conservative values. If you could think of one, leave their name down in the comments. I'd love to know about them. All of this points towards a reality that this CNN anchor is finally embracing. I have to admit, I really enjoy seeing her beat up on Joe. He really deserves to be raked over the coals.
But there's real pain. I mean, grocery prices are up 30%, more than 30%. Since the beginning of the pandemic, and people are spending more on food and groceries than they have at any time really in the past 30 years. I mean, that's a real day-to-day pain that people feel.
It really is, and it's real. But the fact is that if you take a look at what the people have, they have the money to spend. It angers them and angers me that you have to spend more.
The biggest takeaway from this interview is that the left-wing media is finally abandoning all hope when it comes to the Biden administration. The reality is, Joe is living in a completely different reality, one that's created by his handlers, and his declining mental abilities don't help him in any way, shape, or form. I mean, the poor guy loses concentration by the end of each sentence. However, after watching that video, I have to admit that Biden handled those hardball questions a little better than Nancy Pelosi did over at MSNBC. If you want to see her have a total aneurysm, check out this video. If not, I'll see you around the campus.